I really hope that recorded.
I was waiting to see if it recorded.
Hello and welcome to episode 81 of the Disney Park Princess podcast. I'm your co-host, Sara.
And I'm Heather, and I'm first.
I'm Sharla. I'm just proud that I finally remembered to say one of us goes first.
I know. I said I'm going to start recording, and then she decided to say out loud, okay, you're first.
I stand by it. I'm leaving it in if it's there.
Heck, you're the one that's got to edit it if it's not. So, it's fine by me. All right. Well, after that graceful entrance, thank you so much for joining us. This week, we are going to be talking about the Disney theme parks in Asia. So in Tokyo, in Hong Kong, and in Shanghai. So, and I've lost track of how many like individual parks there are. So Tokyo has 2, right?
Currently.
Shanghai has
One.
just 1. And then Hong Kong.
Just one.
Just 1. Okay. All right. So there's 4 parks total. Okay. All right. So I have not been, so I'll be asking the questions. And Heather and Sharla will be providing the answers. So Heather has been to Hong Kong and Shanghai and has planned a bunch of Tokyo Disneyland. And then Sharla has been to Tokyo Disneyland, right? So, all right. Let's get into it, guys. You're shaking your head. No, you don't want to get into it.
No, we're ready. We're ready to go.
I'm so excited. Okay. All right. Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start.
Okay.
All right. How far in advance should I start planning a trip to one of these parks?
Well, in the case of Tokyo, you can't start planning until 6 months in advance.
Okay.
So I think that's important for everyone who's wanting to go there. It's so different in booking than it is from the U.S. parks. They're very strict about that deadline. And sometimes that 6-month mark comes and there's nothing available on the website because they've decided, we're still thinking about it. And so it could be 2 or 3 days later before you see anything become available. So
that's kind of like Disneyland and dining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
60 days exactly. Maybe 30 days.
Ish.
Maybe we'll have it good to go by 48. I don't know. But I know the Tokyo Disneyland site especially is pretty confusing. It's a headache and a half. So it's good to kind of do your research ahead of time and what hotel do you want to stay at? What kind of room are you looking for? And then be ready to go exactly at 6 months out.
Okay. Because you said the availability goes really quickly too, right? So, okay. All right. How about for China? How far in advance do you recommend planning?
They're a little bit more lenient. It's not like a crazy situation like Tokyo is. Sometimes they start planning about a year out. It's kind of like what we're used to here where, they'll start doing 2021 in the summer. Sometimes it's a little bit later in the fall. Hong Kong is really good. You can go right on their website. Shanghai is a little bit more crazy and difficult on their website to kind of figure out. But they're not as complicated as the Tokyo parks are because they are owned by Disney. Remember, Tokyo is not owned by Disney. It is owned by the Tokyo or the Japanese government. So 2 totally different situations.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Now, how about like in terms of planning, do they have advanced fast passes?
At Tokyo, they do not. Not at this time, at least. It was just your older... the standard fast pass, and it works basically the same, but their extra magic hours work with the fast pass only. So there's no advanced planning in terms of going to get the fast pass, but there is advanced planning in terms of you need to make sure if you're staying in one of their hotels, which you should, because you get this extra, it's like 15 minutes and that's it, to go in and get your fast passes. That's all you can do, and you can get 1 fast pass. But because some of the rides, those fast passes will sell out so fast and the lines will be so long, you want to have that particular part planned. Like, where are you going to go? And send 1 person to go get your fast pass.
See, this makes me so nervous just listening about this. Every time I hear somebody, I have anxiety. Like, oh my God, it was the same thing as for Rise of the Resistance boarding pass. Yeah. Like, I am so anxious right now, and all I want to be able to do is enjoy myself, but I can't because I have to go get a fast pass. But it's scary.
But it's not like that. It's actually really fun and exciting. because I was nervous about it too before we did it, because my brother had been before and he told me, and then he was with us this time, and there's the cast members have signs up that says "Do not run" and things like that. But you just go as quickly as you can, and you get what which one you want, which is mainly either the Monsters Inc. ride or Pooh's Honey Hunt, which we'll get to. But there's a couple of them that those are the main ones. And so once
we'll get into. I don't want to take a hard turn into your planning your days, because we're not there yet. So
but once that short answer, that fast pass is done.
No,
you're done. Yeah, you're done.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So just know.
I'm gonna reel that all back, Sharla. Reel it all back. Reel it all back. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get
Never.
there. Yeah.
Never.
So no, you can't book your fast passes in advance.
Right. But it does require planning.
Okay. All right. So, is it like a trip to Walt Disney World or Disneyland where you can book a package that includes your hotel and your park admission, or are you purchasing those things separately?
I believe for Tokyo, it's separately.
Okay.
But for the China parks, you can do a package.
Okay.
Yeah, we did purchase separately, and we stayed at 2 different hotels, and we had to purchase the theme park the tickets separately. We couldn't get like a 6-day ticket. We had to get 2 sets of tickets because they didn't work like 4 days apart.
Okay, got it. Okay,
different.
Yeah, the Tokyo tickets are a mess. Let's just be honest. They and honestly, I've never totally different beast than what we're used to here in the US. The tickets are sold separately. You can't package them. And depending on the ticket you get, like the majority of them, I think it's only like a super high end, like fancy ticket that lets you park hop. But if you are buying just a normal ticket, you have to specify what park you want to go to on the first day. So day 1, I'm going to Tokyo Disneyland. Day 2, I am going to Tokyo DisneySea. And then days 3 and 4, because I think they only have up to 4-day tickets, but I could be wrong on that. But then on days 3 and 4, you can hop between the two. But you have to pick your park for the first 2 days, and it's a single day ticket for those first 2 days, or a single ticket.
We did have park hoppers for both sets of tickets that we got. So, and this was a couple years ago. They could have changed it, or maybe we just got different tickets. But we did buy the tickets when we got there, because in my research, buying them ahead of time, they said you have to have this specific type of paper to print them on. And I was worried we didn't have that because of the different measurements. Mm-hmm. And what I was reading said that you may just want to buy them there if you're coming from the US. So that's what we did.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
And something else to keep in mind that has nothing to do with tickets, but it just popped into my head. There's no Magical Express or even like a Carmel shuttle or a Disneyland Express like they have out here. Right. So do your research and figure out the best way to get from the airports to all of the parks, because there is no Disney provided transportation.
Right. Got it. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the hotels. Let's start in Tokyo.
Okay.
What are the available hotels?
Yeah, Tokyo has 4 or 5 hotels, and we stayed at the Ambassador Hotel, and we also stayed at the Disneyland Hotel. The Ambassador is more of a moderate type hotel, and Disneyland Hotel is a deluxe, and it's more like you would think of the Grand Floridian in its heyday. Like, doesn't feel dated or anything like that. It is the nicest Disneyland hotel I have ever seen. It is gorgeous, and just the rooms are enormous as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So
enormous, like Polynesian or contemporary, or bigger. Okay. Bigger.
So a little bit bigger than like Polynesian or contemporary. And then the room that we stayed in, which was just a standard room, had a little nook with a bed, which of course Nora claimed immediately. It was just like a single bed in this little nook. It was very cute. And then the rooms at the Ambassador, which is considered a moderate, was decent size, probably more like what you would see at the Polynesian or contemporary. It was just a regular room. And they do this in China too. They give you jammies.
No, we didn't get jammies. We got slippers, and I'm telling you, at both resorts, the coolest, most upgraded amenities kits I have ever seen in my life. Like, I only want to go to Disney in China because you get the coolest things. And then also the slippers in Hong Kong were themed because I was there in September, so they were already doing their Halloween activities, and I got Halloween slippers at Hong Kong.
Yeah. So cute.
Also, if you ever have the opportunity to go in Halloween, I've never seen anything like it. Like, Hong Kong wins hands down over all Disney parks.
We went during Halloween time too, and it was so cool. It's really cool. But.
Yeah. All right. So Tokyo has, you said, like 4 or 5 hotels, sort of moderate and deluxe. Do they have like a value type property there, or?
They do. It's called Tokyo Disney Celebration Hotel. Okay. And it is more offsite is not quite the right word, but they did have to take a bus. They couldn't walk or take the monorail system. Okay. Let's say there. Then they have the Miracosta, which is their signature hotel, and that's the one that opens into Tokyo DisneySea. Okay. And it, like, you can get rooms that overlook Tokyo DisneySea.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And then some good neighbors nearby, like there's a Hilton right on that monorail loop and things like that.
Okay. Got it. All
now,
right.
My question then is, when you're deciding where to stay, is there a particular hotel that's better to stay at if you want to go to a certain park, or like, I guess, does it matter where you are on the monorail line? Does location matter there?
It didn't really matter to us. Miracosta was out of our budget at the time. And so we stayed but I really wanted to stay at the Disneyland Hotel too. So that's why we split it. So we stayed at the Ambassador Hotel, and it was, I think, like 3 stops to Disneyland and 1 stop to Tokyo DisneySea. And then the Disneyland Hotel was opposite. So it was really easy, really, really easy. The Ambassador Hotel is right near the Ixapiri. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. Ixapiri Mall. So that's basically where it's not downtown Disney by any stretch, but it's a mall. And you have lots of food options, lots of shopping options. They're not Disney. It's just a regular type shopping mall. But it was right there. Like, we walked just across the courtyard and there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So how about over in Shanghai? Tell me about the hotels there.
Oh, they're beautiful. So there are 2 hotels at Shanghai, and there's no value property there, but there's more of a moderate and then a deluxe. So the moderate property is the Toy Story Hotel, which is about a 15-minute walk to the park. So in Shanghai and Hong Kong, everything is walking distance. You can walk everywhere, which is really nice. And of course, obviously themed after Toy Story, but the rooms are a little bit smaller and there's not as many amenities. I stayed at the Shanghai Disneyland Hotel, which was stunning. That is, of course, their signature property there. It's honestly so beautiful. It's the lobby, you walk in and it reminds you almost of being on the Disney Dream or the Disney Fantasy. It's very Art Nouveau, and they have like, several level lobby where you look up and it's almost like the railings on the ship in the lobby. And when you walk in, right across the lobby are giant picture windows, which looks out over the grounds of the hotel, Wishing Star Lake, and then in the distance is the Fairy Tale Castle. So at night, especially, you can see it all lit up. Nice. And it's really, really beautiful. So if you have the means, that's where I would stay. It's only about like a 6-minute walk to the park, or they have boats that you can take back and forth as well. I loved that hotel. They also have a wine lounge called Bacchus's Lounge, which is from, Bacchus from Fantasia, the little character, that also has beautiful windows overlooking the castle, it's nice for a little nightcap at night.
Nice. Okay. And how about Hong Kong?
So Hong Kong has 3 properties, and Hong Kong was my favorite resort. I just loved it. There's something about that charming little park. Hong Kong does not have a downtown Disney, so it's just the park and the 3 hotels, and they do have value, moderate, and deluxe. I want to say it's called the Hollywood Hotel, but I know that's not the correct name of it now. But that is their value resort. It is the only resort with a food court and a kind of like a quick service grab and go situation there. So that's where I had to go every morning for my fancy coffees. The moderate, or it's not even really a moderate, it's not their signature resort, but it is the newest, which is the Disney Explorer Lodge. Kind of has a little bit of a nod to Animal Kingdom, but not really, but you can kind of get that when you walk in. And And then their deluxe property is the Hong Kong Disneyland Hotel, which looks very, very, very close to the Grand Floridian. So it's familiar. The Hong Kong Disneyland Hotel is going to be closest to the parks. It's about a 10-minute walk along the lake. Hong Kong is actually really unique in that it was a man-made island for Disney to build their park out here. And it's right on the water. So Hong Kong is kind of a series of islands, and you can kind of look into Hong Kong proper, and they have these giant, majestic mountains. It's stunning. It's really beautiful. And so you can walk along a path that they've built from all of the hotels. So the Hong Kong Disneyland Hotel will be closest. Explorer Lodge would be in the middle. And then at the very end, which is about a 20-minute walk from the parks, would be the Hollywood Hotel. And then there's a bus service too, like we're used to out here. But what I would say that I noticed about the hotels in Hong Kong, and I think everybody who's coming from the States should be aware of, is that they don't have the same amenities that we're used to. So there's no bar. I think, again, the Hollywood Hotel is the only one that had a bar. So, if you like to come back for a nightcap, that's not an option there. They don't have quick service locations except for the Hollywood Hotel, and even that one was tiny. There's not they mostly have just big sit down restaurants there. And there's a giant buffet in each hotel. It's included in your rate. And that's just where you would have your breakfast. And these buffets are they put Disney World to shame. Like, you think Boma's great? They have nothing on these hotels. Like, anything you can imagine. So they have the Western diet, they have the Asian diet, and everything's kind of just fused together. And they're fantastic.
Yeah. If you've never been to a buffet in an Asian hotel, and this is where I re-enter the conversation because having been to Korea, the buffets at Asian hotels are
amazing.
Fantastic.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
And then you can have noodles and dim sum for breakfast, because what is wrong with that? And also important to note, there is no coffee shop. So if you want to just pop downstairs for a quick cup of coffee or something, can't do that. So my suggestion is, even though it's not the closest to the park, I would look at the Explorer Lodge first, if you're coming from the States, because it has more of the amenities that we're used to. So that's where you're going to have a quick grab and go coffee shop. You can pop over quickly to the Hollywood Hotel if you want the quick service locations. It's just they focused more on what the Western audience is used to when they built that hotel. So it's going to be a little bit more familiar.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. Excellent. All right. So you started talking about the buffets, which what that means we need to talk about next, right? Now we have to talk about the food. Now, I have seen some of the Pinterest that is going on with the Asian parks, and I have never seen cuter food in my entire life. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, this is where I was a little let down, because I've seen those images too, and I couldn't wait to get there. And at least not when I went. The China parks don't have a lot of that, and I was I think that's all of a Tokyo.
It's a Tokyo thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Tokyo had it.
Kawaii, which means cute in Japanese, is a big thing in Tokyo. So everything needs to be cute, and oh my gosh, the food. All right, so Sharla.
All right. So
tell me
some of the fun stuff they had, and a lot of this was for Halloween too. But they had a Queen of Hearts bao bun. It was red and black on half and half on one, and then it had hearts cut out of and then the other color placed in. And that was the pork bao bun that they had. They had an orange smoothie type thing. I don't even know how to. Not a sherbet, but it was different. And then they had it in fancy foam and all this stuff. They had something similar to what Heather loves, that Cheshire tail. So something similar to that. And those were just a few of them. But the food was unbelievable, and the snacks were absolutely unbelievable. And the biggest game that we played with our food was that they had different flavors of popcorn all over the parks, and each kiosk or each little stand had a different flavor. So they had it on the map which stand had which popcorn flavor, and we had to try them all because
Did you get the soy sauce one? Because that's the one I want to try.
yeah, and we got them all. There was blueberry, which was interesting. There was like a tomato soups like marinara. It was really good. Like, and somebody said that sounds gross. I was like, well, think about chips. You get all the different types of flavors of chips. This was, then they had like a hot and a spicy and sweet. It was so good. So good. And we ate at an Italian restaurant at Tokyo DisneySea that was unbelievable food. I know you don't necessarily think of Italian food when you go to Tokyo, but it was in the theme park. So it was really, really, really good.
Now, talk to me about dining reservations. Are they required?
The only reservation we made was the one for that Italian restaurant because my brother really wanted to go there. Mm-hmm. We didn't make any more, I believe, based on, even though it was fairly crowded, we could have gotten in anywhere to sit down and eat. The lines for getting the food were not that long at a quick service place. So yeah, I don't know that it's really necessary, but we had, there were 6 of us. So, we wanted to make sure we ate at that one. So we did make one there.
Okay. Heather, how about Shanghai and Hong Kong?
Okay. I'll start with Hong Kong. So I'm going to preface this by saying I spent 14 days in China. This is the only vacation I came back from and I lost weight. And that is saying something because I think I ate my weight in noodles. The Chinese food is very different than what we think of as Chinese food. Let's be clear, this is Chinese American. So even though it may be different, you might think you're going to go there and see General Chow's chicken or orange chicken. That's not on the menu anywhere. It does not exist in China. That is very much an American invention. That being said, for the parks specifically, again, those buffets have a lot of Western diets and things like that. So you're going to find something familiar in the parks, like at their quick service locations. The food was awful. But they did have, I went to this one place in their Tomorrowland and I got a burger and it was not good at all. But they put stamps on the bun, so my burger looked like Iron Man. So they tried it. There was a few cute things. It wasn't so awful that I took a bite and was like, ugh. But it's not what we think of as burgers, right? I will say there is a restaurant in the Disneyland Hotel called Crystal Lotus, which is kind of like their fancier restaurant, and it's Chinese cuisine, and it was incredible. It was so delicious. I mean, there was this fried rice dish that came to the table, but they had a sauce, and then if they didn't like the way that you were putting the sauce on, they're like, no, and they would come over and do it for you, so you got to eat it the correct way. The noodles were amazing. So I found that the sit-down restaurants in Hong Kong were a lot better than the quick service food. They also have a Plaza Inn on their main street, but you walk inside and it's very Asian looking, and it's the most beautiful restaurant. They've dimmed the windows, so it almost looks like you're looking, how when you go to Trader Sam's and it's got that fake window where it looks like they have that, and it's like this beautiful blue shade and all these beautiful lanterns, and the food in there is phenomenal. And they do serve wine with dinner in the parks there. Okay. Which is really nice, again, because, they don't have bars. But if you're looking for that, you can get glasses of wine and beer and things like that with dinner. I will say over in Shanghai, the food got a little bit better. Again, they had an awesome buffet. We had dinner at their boathouse in their version of Downtown Disney. It was disgusting. Don't ever eat there. It was awful, 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 awful. Oh God, it was so disgusting. Let's see, where in Shanghai did we eat? Their counter service game is really stepped up in Shanghai. They have a lot of really great options, whether it's Chinese, it's burgers, it's whatever you can think of. It's really busy and it's really bustling. But what I thought was cool there is because in Hong Kong, a lot of people speak English because they were under British rule until 20-something years ago. So almost everybody speaks English and there's not a language barrier. In Shanghai, that's not the case. Very, very, very few people speak English. So when you go to order, they have picture menus and they hand it to you and you just points for what you want. That gets a little tricky if you have a food allergy like I do, which happens to be to broccoli, and the Chinese love broccoli. So I happened to be there with Adventures by Disney, and our guide had written out my allergy on a piece of paper so I could just show them. But you might want to seek out somebody who has the English badge on them when you're in Shanghai, because it's really hard to communicate with them. But their food is fantastic there, except for the boathouse. And I will say, dessert in China is really strange. They have an affinity for mangoes. I think they grow a lot of mangoes. Everything is mango. Everything. Every dessert that I was offered, all it was mango. And they love things called puddings, but they're not what we think of as pudding. It's more of like a jello, like a gelatin thing. Yeah. And there's not much flavor, but all they have is mango pudding. So if you're going to China, just be prepared. It's all you're going to eat is mangoes, which is great for the first 2 days. But by day 14, I was like, if I never see a mango again, it'll be fine.
I felt like I saw a lot of mochi in the Tokyo parks, and they had a stormtrooper mochi. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was like white with the little stamp or something on it. But one thing you said reminded me, when I got a burger at their version of Cosmic Rays, and the bun was round with 2 little ears. It was a Mickey shaped bun. And it was fine. It was edible and tasty, but I don't understand why we cannot step up our food game in the U.S. parks and have, like in Paris, they have the Mickey shaped pizza, and I don't understand why
Mickey
we don't
macarons.
Mickey shaped.
I want to know how we get the hand soap that pumps in
the
shape of the Mickey.
Too. Oh my gosh, so much. I will say that. Shanghai was starting to do a little more cutesy things like Tokyo. Like I got a Mike Wazowski bun in their like little bakery, their Main Street bakery. But like it wasn't like a sweet thing. It was just a bread. But, it's still cute. And then in Hong Kong, I had the little puddings that looked like little Tsum Tsums. They were really cute. They had no flavor to them, but they were really cute. So like you could find pockets of that. But different culture, different taste buds, different foods.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So now let's get into.
Oh, hold on. I forgot. I also did afternoon tea at one of the restaurants at Hong Kong Disneyland because, again, British, so they believe in afternoon tea, and that was awesome. And they had little, like it came with a fruit plate, and the melons, like the honeydew melon, was cut into the shape of a Mickey glove.
Oh,
it's really cute.
It's cute. Really cute. I love it. All right. So now let's get into the parks themselves and talk about the rides. Sort of how was your experience navigating the park? Was there a lot of was there a lot of signage? Was it difficult for you to get around or to find things or to communicate? Like, how was all of that?
I found it very simple. Everything was in English. The layout of Disneyland Park was similar enough. There were some differences, obviously, but that was okay. Tokyo DisneySea is completely different from anything else.
Right.
But everything was in English. We got English maps. We had no issues finding where we wanted to go. That was not a problem. Even in Tokyo itself, but specifically Disney, we had no problems at all.
Yeah. How about Shanghai and Hong Kong?
Hong Kong was super easy because, again, everybody speaks English and Cantonese. But what I found in the China parks is that English is not the first language. They are trying to be respectful of the culture in which they are in. So all the signs are going to be first in Cantonese or Mandarin, and then English. If you're going to a ride where there's a pre-show, it's always going to be in Cantonese or Mandarin first, and then maybe some English. In Hong Kong, definitely. Shanghai, maybe. Shows are all in their language. Mm-hmm. But they do in Hong Kong have English shows. So we saw this Mickey, it's not Mickey and the Magical Map, but it's kind of along those lines. And it was a fantastic show, but we had to wait to go to the English version. So they have 1 or 2 performances a day that would be in English that you could go see. In Shanghai, it's a little bit harder because, again, not many people speak English. So everything's in Mandarin. We went on Coursen there, which is essentially the same ride, but they have a whole different pre-show because our version wouldn't translate over there. So the whole pre-show is in Mandarin, and I happened to be standing next to our ABD guide, and she was translating what they were saying. So I think quite a few things could be lost on you in Shanghai, but it's familiar enough that you can figure out your way through it. And same goes for Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean is actually in English. The pre-show is not, but the ride is in English because those characters speak English. So that's just something to
interesting.
keep in
Okay.
mind.
So what you're telling me is I'm never going to be so grateful that my son took Chinese.
Yes. If he can speak it, it's great. But again, it's very much a castle park. So it's got that spoken hub feeling. You'll be able to find your way around, no issues. It's not like you're going to have to stop and ask for directions. They also have English maps and French maps and German maps and all of that. And, if you get a VIP tour guide there, even better, because they'll be able to speak English to you and take you around.
One thing about Disney is, since they are so great at storytelling, first of all, in Tokyo, they do have, you can pick up at guest services a storytelling guide. So it will tell you the actual story of each attraction, or the main ones in English. Cool. It didn't have all of them, but it did have them. Cool. So, but even before I got that, or without looking at it, I knew you can tell the basic story of what's going on because they're so good at storytelling. So like there was a Little Mermaid show, which was amazing. Ariel was actual Ariel and did on guide wires in this, but everything was in Japanese, but we got it. And there's a ride about Sinbad, the Voyage of Sinbad, and which has nothing to do with anything Disney has before. You've never seen it, but we were able to follow along with what he's going through because it's a dark ride, we're watching each scene. So
I feel like that's kind of what they've done with PhilharMagic too, right? Like there's very little dialogue in it. You don't really have to know much. It's kind of for the international visitors. They're going to be able to come and enjoy it just like we would, even though they don't speak our language.
Right.
There was a show with it was not exactly a magic show, but they had some magic elements, and there was a pre-show, and again all in Japanese, but we kind of got it. We probably didn't get every single thing or every single joke, but we got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Tough, hard-hitting question here. Each park, what is the one ride that you have to do?
I have to pick one.
One, Sharla.
Okay.
You're not the dictator on this. One part. Now you get Tokyo, so technically you get two because there's two parks.
But
still, I know. All right, Heather, you go first because you look like you have an answer.
Hong Kong is Mystic Manor. I have a runner-up if anybody's interested. You can email me. If anybody's interested, you can email me because there is a runner-up that's really
Heather
freaking incredible.
DisneyParkPrincess.com. She'll tell you.
But Mystic Manor, hands down, it's incredible. It's got that trackless ride system that you see now on Rise of the Resistance and that you'll eventually see on Ratatouille. But it is, I haven't gotten to go on Mystic Manor because it was closed when we were there, so I have to go back, but it is the coolest version of the Haunted Mansion I've seen. And it's a completely different story than any of us are familiar with because they don't believe in an afterlife in China. Ghosts are not going to resonate with them. They won't understand that. So instead, it's about an enchanted house and an enchanted object that brings things to life. And to them, that makes sense because they believe in that type of thing. And so it's still got that little tiny bit of scary to it, but a lot of funny that we're familiar with. And they have the cutest little mascot. He is a little monkey in a fez and a vest, who's kind of like the pet of the house. And he's the one that causes all this mischief. His name is Albert, and he is adorable.
And is this in both Shanghai and Hong Kong, or
no,
is just
only in Hong Kong?
Only in Hong Kong. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. How about in Shanghai? What's the one ride?
I'm going to give you two, and you can't stop me. Tron and Pirates of the Caribbean. Tied. They're amazing. Too late now. What?
All right. Charlotte's going to edit it out for me. That's why.
But
all right, Sharla, she got two. You get two. Go ahead.
Okay. Both of them are incredible, so you can't pick one or the other. You have to do both.
Okay. Tokyo Disneyland, Pooh's Honey Hunt, also trackless. I know it's Winnie the Pooh, so it's a kids ride, but don't care. Let's do it. do it. Also, Monsters Inc. booth hide and seek. You get a little flashlight and you get to find her, kind of like a Buzz Lightyear type thing where you're. But
It's kind of like Men in Black, right? Over at Universal.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And then how about over at
Tokyo Disney? Tokyo DisneySea, hands down, Tower of Terror.
Okay.
It's very, very different story. It's part of that. What do they call it? The Adventurers Club.
C.
Yeah.
Society for whatever it is.
Yeah. Harrison
Global
Hightower
or something.
Yeah, he gets his artifacts and all that. So it's that base. One of the effects in that pre-show I have never seen, and I cannot figure out how they do it, and it's crazy. It's amazing. And then Sinbad, Voyage of Sinbad, the little dark ride is so good. It's so cute.
Okay.
I too.
All right. How about nighttime extravaganzas? Do they have like fireworks and nighttime shows like we do here in the US?
Yes. So they definitely have, and I believe they've closed it. Phantasmic. I think they did close it, didn't they? At Tokyo DisneySea. It was on their lagoon and it was unbelievable. It was just different. It was not the same type of Phantasmic that you would see. It was very different. And they had a lot of shows, a lot of parades. I felt like they had a parade like every hour at Tokyo.
Right.
And yeah, they loved it. And then a lot of just on that water at Tokyo DisneySea, they have this big lagoon right as you enter, and they had something going on in it all the time. They had those, those jet packs where people kind of fly around, or the water.
Oh
pack.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had those going on almost nonstop. It was just a lot of entertainment all the time.
Very cool. How about Shanghai and Hong Kong? Do they have nighttime?
Both of them have fireworks shows at night, which were really beautiful, really, especially Shanghai's. I feel like that thing went on for 20 minutes and it was just kind of like all different Disney music, and it's just that castle is.
I would imagine the country that invented fireworks would have a pretty good.
Yeah. But they don't have like, shows, like nighttime shows. There's not a Phantasmic. There's not, but it's a fireworks display.
Fireworks display. Okay.
And they're beautiful. I'm sure there must have been a parade in Hong Kong, but I don't remember it. What I do remember is their Halloween parade. They had a whole Halloween parade. I wouldn't say it's as good as Boo to You, but it was all dedicated to the villains. And so that was kind of really nice. They had a few like little nods to Boo to You, like a little bit of the music that they took from that. I'm actually really bummed about this. Our last day in Shanghai was basically a monsoon. Like I've never seen rain like this in my life. And so their Halloween parade got rained out, but like it's a creepy Halloween parade where like they have like a whole like pirate landing little land section of the park, and so their Halloween is all dedicated to the like zombie pirates like you would see from Curse of the Black Pearl. And so it's like they do a whole parade, then they take over that land, and like they're swinging from pirate ships, and it started, but then it started to rain, so they had to cancel it. So I don't think that they had they actually might have had a daily parade that was canceled, but like they're really more big on the fireworks out there than the daily entertainment.
Got it. Okay. All right. Anything else that you think our listeners absolutely need to know before they make the decision or start to plan their trip?
You should definitely go. It's fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend. I mean, the China parks, I know it's a little scary because it's China and it's different, but I wouldn't hesitate to send you there. It's fantastic, especially if you want to start with Hong Kong. It's such a metropolitan city. It's very westernized. You would not feel uncomfortable there at all. And please don't just go for the Disney parks. Get out into the cities, walk around. I don't care if you hire yourself a tour guide, you jump on, like a little sightseeing tour, but go and see the culture, because, as much as we love Disney, these beautiful, like thousands of year old cultures. Yeah. It's something to see. And I will just say, remember, it is not right. It is not wrong. It's just different. So go embrace that. Yeah. Embrace the difference and really immerse yourself. Don't get there and be like, oh, well, I don't like this. At least try it.
We spent several days in Tokyo, and as you know, I love Disney and I love any theme park that I go to is great, but I do wish we had a little bit more time in Japan, not necessarily Tokyo. I would spend more time there, but like go to Kyoto or some of the other cities, which we did not get to do when we were there. So I would definitely go there again. And then my biggest tip is when you return home, It took me at least 3 weeks to feel normal again. It's a 13-hour difference. That jet lag was
Oh, it'll
crazy.
kill you. It will
This
destroy
is
you.
this is the only time they have hated me more than I have ever hated them, was when I came home from Asia and was not jet lagged at all.
Oh my gosh.
I will say I don't get jet lag. I've never had it
Heather
in my
never
life.
gets jet lagged.
Ever. It's like whatever time it is where I
Yeah.
am is what it is. And then I came home from China and it took, I want to say 3 weeks. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, you were both.
I would go to sleep at 7 p.m., wake
Yeah.
up at 3 a.m., then sleep until 11, and then like had to drag myself
Yeah.
out of bed because I couldn't get up.
And you would think the whole, I'm just going to stay up until bedtime and then sleep all night. No, you don't sleep all night. You're up at
No.
3 a.m., 4 a.m. I forced myself to like get myself out of bed at 2 p.m. just because I knew I wouldn't sleep. Doesn't matter. You might as well sleep all day because it's going to
And
take you like.
I had no problem actually falling asleep, but then it would be like I'd sleep for 3 hours and then
Yeah.
wide awake.
Crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is the
Yeah.
worst thing I've ever experienced. So give yourself like at least 3 days before you have to be at work when you're coming home. At least just do yourself that favor and build in that extra time.
I was so scared when I went to Korea because I had listened to your 2 horror stories and you were both like, oh, it's the worst thing ever. You're going to feel terrible for a month. Don't worry. We're going to cover for you because you are going to be so miserable. And then I came home and I was like, fine. And they were both like, I hate you.
Well, the funny thing is,
so much.
Sharla and my trip, like I got back from China and I want to say 5 days later, she was going to Tokyo. So she had a layover in LA. So, I went and we had dinner together and I'm just sitting at the table. I'm like, just wait, this is terrible. You're going to be so miserable. She did. She came back. She's like, this is the worst.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you what my trick was. I have no idea because normally I do get jet lagged and this is the one time in my life and I didn't, but whatever. Yeah. So, but it's worth it. It's 100% worth it.
I still have 8 years left on my China visa and I will be back.
Yeah.
I'm going. Like, I don't care. It's worth it.
Yeah. All right. So that wraps it up for this week's episode of the Disney Park Princess podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up on our Patreon extra, this was a listener Patreon request. So our listener Tiernan had written in and given us some suggestions, and we're taking all of them. So up first, she had asked us to talk about our least favorite restaurants in each park. So we're starting with Magic Kingdom, and everybody has to pick one. And of course, these 2 are going to cheat. I'm sure they're going to come up with more than one. Whatever. I've lost all control. It's fine. So stay tuned for that. If you're not a Patreon supporter, you can go to patreon.com/DisneyParkPrincess. We do exclusive content. We also have a special Patreon Facebook group. And in fact, Heather just posted a brand new video. If you watched Heather's Lunchtime Live last week, she did a live cooking demonstration of Tonga toast, which looked fantastic.
So I mean, it tasted exactly like the restaurant. I'm not even gonna lie.
So
it was
good.
So good.
And then she did a cooking video for just a separate cooking video just for our patrons in the Patreon Facebook page. So be sure to join that as well. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, on Pinterest, on Facebook. Make sure you join our Facebook group. We're having so much fun in there. We're doing lunchtime lives and happy hours and Disney trivia every day, and share your Disney artwork. And there's just all kinds of fun stuff going on in there. So be sure to join us there. And that's it. We will talk to you next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.